Salve, família!
Você que quer fazer intercâmbio e curtir o estilo de vida australiano, lembre de se inscrever no nosso canal e acompanhar o Australian Lifestyle Podcast.
Falar o quê, meu amigo? Vai lá!
Hello, my friends from the Australian Lifestyle. Today we'll have an English conversation with a representative of Adelaide University. Is that right, Vini?
That's absolutely right, Tiago. We could run this session in Portuguese, in English, in Spanish, or in Portuñol, but we were gonna do it in English today. And we have Ximena Ospina here, who represents an amazing university down south in Adelaide, and she's gonna talk a little bit more about how to go to Australia instead in one of the best universities in Australia, maybe among the best universities in the world, in this beautiful city called Adelaide. Ximena, welcome.
Hi, Vinicius and Tiago. Thank you for the invitation. Very happy and excited to be here, sharing information with everyone that is who's in Brazil and all around the world interested in Australia.
All right. Well, Ximena, the first question is, how did you get involved with Australia?
About 20 years ago, probably a little bit more than that. I was also looking to study overseas. I am Colombian, and I had the opportunity to do part of my high school in the US. And it was an interesting experience, but I wanted to see something different. I wanted to have a different experience, to see other parts of the world. And so someone told me, a very close friend of mine told me about Australia, and she had a fantastic experience. And I said, I want to go there. So I decided to save money and to pick a university and just go for it, And my family was very surprised because they thought, why do you want to go so far away? At that time, Australia was really far away. Now that I know so much about Australia, I don't think it's that far away. And with technology and everything else. So that's how I ended up going there. I was an international student, and I went to Sydney. I did my master's in translation and interpreting, and it has completely transformed my life since then. So
you have a lot to share with us, Ximena. But I also want to know how you how did you start to work with international education? So you did your master's in translation, and how come you end up being part of the Adelaide University?
Well, initially, when I completed my master's degree in Sydney. At the time, there was only 2 universities that offered the program that I was interested in. So I didn't have a lot of choice to pick other states. It was New South Wales or New South Wales, basically. So I ended up there. I love Sydney. It's a fantastic city. And then because of that, when I returned to Colombia, they were actually looking for someone who had already the experience of living and studying in Sydney. And they asked me if I wanted to become their representative in Colombia, which, it wasn't planned. So I was doing part-time my translation job. I was an interpreter in Colombia doing translations jobs as well. And I was hired by the university to represent them there. And, with time, I ended up going back to Australia and stayed in Australia for almost 10 years. So let's say I've been in the industry for quite a while. And Adelaide has always been a place that I thought, it's a small place. I don't, I'll just go there for holidays. And it has changed so much that when this opportunity came along, I was super excited because it is a city that at this point in how the world is changing so much, I think it offers great opportunities for international students. And I'm not going to say anything negative about Sydney because Sydney is a fantastic city. It's wonderful. It's in my heart. I have very close friends and I had a great time there. But I think if I had to choose right now in this point in my life to go to Australia and start from zero again, it wouldn't be Sydney, the city that I would choose. I would definitely choose Adelaide And the reason is because Adelaide is such a it's a city that you can really develop yourself in so many ways, not just academically, but also have a beautiful life. It's a beautiful city with a lot of opportunities. It has a very interesting mix of things that you can't find in other cities in Australia. I mean, the fact that you're surrounded by mountains and wineries. You have over 100 different wineries. Some of them are top rank wineries in the world. 70% of the wine that it is that you can find, Australian wine in other countries, comes from this state. And then half an hour from the city center, you find the beach. It's surrounded by parks. So, what's not to like? You have all the four seasons. Everything is close, but it's also a city with a lot of festivals and like a nice, like an interesting art scene.
There is no doubt that Adelaide, it's a great place, and not only because of the lifestyle, but also because it provides international students with some real advantages. Not cost of living, it's a little bit cheaper than other capital cities, but also there are some migration advantages for those that go to Adelaide. Extra points if you study in Adelaide for skilled migration, a longer period of post-study work rights. If you study for 2 years, you can stay for instead of 2 years, 3 years after you graduated in Adelaide. So lots of different advantages, access to some specific visa subclasses. So yeah, really interesting place to study. But tell us a little bit more, Ximena, about the university itself, because it's a top-ranked university. Maybe a lot of people in Brazil are not aware about Adelaide University, so I would like to learn a little bit more about the institution.
Sure. So Adelaide University is the newest university in Australia because it started this year. However, it has an old soul. Because if you think of the two foundation universities where this university was, born, the University of Adelaide was founded 150 years ago, and the University of South Australia 30 years ago. So, combined between these two universities, it is 180 years that they have been providing higher education in the state, and not just for Australians, but also for students that come from all over the world. So this new university is a university that has taken a step farther in making sure that all our programs are very aligned with the needs of the market in Australia, and that are also aligned with the tools that students are using right now to learn. Because as we know, the digital world is pretty much everywhere, right? Students are using artificial intelligence. They are not learning the same ways that we do, at least the way I did. We used to go to the library and read books, and make notes from books. The students right now are using completely different tools for learning. And it's not just about accumulating knowledge, but how to use what you can find also in the online in an ethical way, in a way that is also safe. So the university has taken a lot of time in developing and updating all our courses. So all the subjects in every single program have been updated, and that is a monumental job for a university that not only takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort and funding, because it is a massive effort, basically. And I think that shows the commitment of the state and the university to provide programs that are not just what the market needs, but are also aligned with what is going to happen in the future with all the changes in education. So I think that is a very important point. This is a university that, using the strengths of this foundation universities, the University of South Australia was a university very focused in practical education, very strong links with industry, and the University of Adelaide has always been in the group of 8 elite universities, meaning it is a university that is highly focused in academia. It has research centers that are 5 stars out of 5. It's always been in the top 100 universities in the world. And in Australia, is part of this group of 8. So that means it is a university that receives a lot of funding from the government to keep researching. And it has specific areas that are priority for the state. Some of them are defense. Within defense, you can find data science, for example, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. Everything related to innovation is a priority for the state. Also, viticulture, because it's a state that produces a lot of wine. So obviously, viticulture is a very important program. Agriculture as well. It is a state that produces a lot of what is consumed internally in the country. Health sciences, part of the city of Adelaide, for example, is dedicated to innovation and medical research, and the university is very involved in those areas. And of course, everything related to STEM, basically, sciences, technology, engineering. We have lots of programs in engineering that are also in the top 50 in the world. For example, this year we have 2 programs that are in the top 20. We have the program in mining and mining and minerals engineering and petroleum engineering. So STEM, I would say, is a strong focus of the university. However, this university has over 400 programs. 400 programs is a lot of programs. So we also have a strong faculty of business with different options: finance, business analytics, marketing, everything related to business.
A very comprehensive institution.
Very.
And I like the fact that you pointed the group of 8, Ximena, because for those that don't know what it is, it would be equivalent to the Ivy League in the US, right? So those are the best universities in the country, 8 universities that are very research intensive. And of course, Adelaide University is part of it, Tiago.
Yeah, amazing, right? I love it. Now, you mentioned a lot of courses as well, Ximena. For a Brazilian student considering higher education in Australia, which areas of courses do you believe will offer stronger opportunities in the coming years?
Engineering is a very important one. We have different areas within engineering. I would say about 10 different areas, from biopharmaceutical engineering to electrical, mechatronics, structural, civil, marine engineering. So that one, I think it's a very important area. Everything related to technology as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can apply anywhere in the world. Data science, in artificial intelligence. For example, Adelaide is also the home of the Australian Institute of Machine Learning, which is an institute that it's a like a joint venture with the government, where they do a lot of it's like an incubator for innovation, basically. And there's different companies that have their offices there. And as the university is part of this incubator, that means there's lots of opportunities for our students to be part of this incubator. So they can, get all this practical experience, participate maybe in other research programs, and then bring this knowledge back to Brazil, or maybe they live in other places in the world, Canada or the US.
And
So
even in
it's
the Australian job market, right?
Yes, of course, yes. And the fact that what Vinicius mentioned before, this is a state that has more, let's say, favorable migration benefits. And the post-study work permit lasts 3 years. So that is a huge opportunity for students to not just study in a top university, but also have the chance to work and get the return of investment, making use of this 3-year post-study work permit.
How does the university support the students in that transition? I know that the academic experience in Australia, especially in a top university like Adelaide University, it's very intense. So you have to work very hard. But how does the university helps the students to integrate themselves with the job market?
The university has an office. It's called the International Student Services Office, and one section of this office is only focusing on career services. So basically, they run different workshops where they teach students how to prepare for a job interview, how to write proper CV, because here in Latin America, sometimes we write too much words in a curriculum, and Australians don't like to see that much information. They're like straight to the point. So they teach them all this, ways of how to present and sell themselves in paper. Also to connect them with the industry. They do career fairs where they invite employees, either from the government or private companies, to come and talk about different opportunities for work experience. In fact, there's 2 points here. One is the fact that the university offers these career fairs. They normally happen once every semester. And as I mentioned, it's an opportunity for students to connect with a future employer. So that's one aspect. But apart from that, most of our programs also include an apprenticeship within the program. Right. So that means students have to complete this apprenticeship, and most of them, when they finish, if they excel in that area where they were working, it's very likely that they can get a job offer. So from the get-go, if they take advantage of all these opportunities that the university and services, which are free for students to use, I think that they can build a path for them to really get the job that they want to, because it's a state that needs a lot of professionals at different, like medium to high level, in different companies. So there are opportunities. I always say for students, if you plan really well what you want to do and you make use of all these tools, you can definitely have a really good opportunity to get a good job in Australia. The university also has an entrepreneurship center, and they also support students from different careers that want to launch that service or product into the market. And this is part of the services that the university offers for those students that, apart from studying, let's say, engineering, they also have a service that they want to bring to the market. So these students have access to these services, and they receive mentorships from professionals and leaders in this area, so that they not just learn the technical part of what the program they're doing, they can also learn from finance, marketing, management, human resources, and then launch that program or service that they want to bring to Australia. So that's another great opportunity, like you mentioned, not just to be employed, but also have the chance to prepare for your own business.
That sounds really good, actually. But the thing is, Ximena, what about students that don't have that English level required for the university? What are the pathways available for them to start this journey and maybe consider even the Australian job market?
We have an English center that is part of the university, and some students, if they don't meet the English requirements, we normally accept 4 different English exams, international exams, for students to enter directly to our programs. But if they don't have the score that they need, then plan B is they start their English program through our English center. This English center is like a few blocks from the university, so students will still have the opportunity to enjoy the campus. All our classes normally are small size classes, no more than 18 students per class. There's a lot of media technology within the classrooms. There's a lot of extracurricular activities for them to, make use of that and start using English outside the classroom. And we also have scholarships for English, for students that want to do English, or sometimes they want to do a master's, but their English is really not that ready yet. So they come only to do English, maybe for 6 months or 8 months, and then they start the program. So we definitely have a plan B for all the students that might need some help with English.
They might need some help with English, but they might also need some help with scholarships. Ximena, can you tell us a little bit more about the scholarships that Adelaide University offers?
Basically, two different types of English scholarships. We have a program that is called the General English Program, and we have a 35% scholarship for all students that start this year, regardless of the number of weeks that they want to study with us. So the minimum is 5 weeks, the maximum is 40 weeks. So as long as they start this year, they will get automatically the 35% discount on the cost per week, which is very good, because I am aware that there aren't that many universities from the group of 8 also offering a scholarship like this one. On the other hand, we have another scholarship that is a 10-week scholarship. It's a different program. It's called PEP. It's a direct entry for undergrad or postgrad degrees. So say, for example, a student did the IELTS or the TOEFL. He didn't get exactly the mark that he needed, but it wasn't that bad. Maybe he just needs to do 15 weeks prior to start the master's. And this student has a very good academic profile. So this student is already being classified as a winner, as an awardee of our academic merit scholarships, which I'm going to mention in a bit. So if this student has been selected by the university as an awardee of one of these merit scholarships, then the 10-week scholarships activates. That means that if the student has to do 15 weeks, we will cover 10 weeks out of those 15 weeks. So the student would only have to pay 5 weeks. And the other scholarships are merit scholarships, meaning the university will assess students based on their GPAs from high school or universities in Brazil. And depending on that GPA, a student can be eligible for a 15% scholarship, 25% scholarship, or a 50% scholarship, which is really good. So depending on, say, for example, this is a student that already the university selected as being an awardee for the 25% scholarship and has a situation similar to the one I mentioned before, sat for IELTS. He didn't do very well, but he didn't do that bad, only needs 10 weeks of English. We will give them the 10 weeks of English without a cost, because he will be a winner of that other scholarship. So I'm talking about 2 scholarships basically that we offer, the English ones and then the merit scholarships.
We talked about, one of the most livable cities in the world, which is Adelaide, close to the beach, close to the hills, a region that produces one of the best wines in the world, which has one of the best universities in the world. So a great opportunity for Brazilians to live an amazing lifestyle, Tiago.
Yeah, and that's my question to you, Ximena. What is the Australian lifestyle?
The Australian lifestyle, I think it's about balance. It's about, enjoying life and using these opportunities that you have created for yourself with your studies, with your work experience that you are hopefully, choosing when you get there, to get the life that you want. I think Australia opens the doors to so many migrants. It's a very friendly country. So it's hard to get it wrong if you take all these things into consideration,
Yeah. That's the perfect lifestyle, in my opinion. Well, Ximena, thanks so much. The interview has flown, so easily, and I guess you gave a lot of information, right, Vinny?
Indeed, indeed. It is a fantastic opportunity for Brazilians. Adelaide University is really, among the best universities in the world. Um, at Australian Center, we can guide the students throughout the application process, requesting visas and so forth. And it was indeed amazing to have you here, Ximena, today. I'm sure um, your presence here at our podcast will inspire a lot of people to come to Australia and live this amazing lifestyle.
No, thank you, Tiago and Vinicius, for the invitation. I'm more than happy to share, not just about the university, but also my own experience, because, I'm pretty much a living, a dream of all these things that I talk about every day. So thank you for the opportunity, and always happy to share information.
That's
Excellent.
great. That's great to hear. Thanks again, Ximena. Thanks, Vinny. And we'll see you again in another opportunity here at Australian Lifestyle Podcasts. Agreed? See you then. Bye-bye.
Salve família!
Você que quer fazer intercâmbio e curtir o estilo de vida australiano, lembre de se inscrever no nosso canal e acompanhar o Australian Lifestyle Podcast.
Falar o quê, meu amigo? Vai lá!